Thank you, big brother. Giving honor and all praises to God. It's a blessing to be here. And I know that sad time for the family, but it's also a blessing. To Pastor Thelma, my cousin, to Reverend Goodwin, Reverend King, Reverend Brackett, to my brothers, to my family, to my friends. Thank you. Thank each of you for your support of us as we have gone through this trying time. Words can't express how I feel right now. I'm sad, but I'm happy. I'm happy because I know where my mom's at, and it's a blessing to know and have that feeling. So if you just bear with me for a minute, I need to share some things with you guys. First thing is, where's Gary at? My little brother to my little cousin. Okay, we could not have honored our father's wishes as a family without Gary and his wife Linda. When you got somebody in your family that can stand in the gap for 12 years, every day, 7 days a week, taking care of your mom, taking care of your family's property. Gary, we don't have enough money to pay you. But I want you to know that we thank you and we love you in London. You guys have been a blessing to us. To my cousin Gene, I know you're watching out there who couldn't be here. Get well, cuz. Feel better. You also stood in the gap. You were there with Gary. When mom got to the point to where she needed assistance in taking care of her daily things, you were there. And we love you and we appreciate you. To my mom's best friend, Miss Rose. To Margaret. To Pam and the Bridges Chapel Church family. Thank you all. There were many times that you guys would do things and we would never know. But then mom would tell us. And see, I know because I talk to her every day. There wasn't a day that went by that we didn't talk. To my cousin Arnitha, who also stood in the gap on the medical side. When mom was passing Reverend Goodwin, driving about 70 miles an hour, you were there in the gap at the hospital waiting on her. And you were there with the doctors and you guys talked. And it's just a blessing. We as a family, we've been blessed. You know, we don't get to pick when we come in this world who our mom and dad are. We don't get to pick who our brothers are. We don't get to pick any of that. But God does. And as a family, we've been blessed. Now, there's a couple of things, Gary. I've been fired, but you still hired. Okay, that's the family joke, and that's what Arnita was alluding to earlier when she talked about the fact that we would come to the house. And now I'm gonna do this, William, since you always call me. So I'm no longer dad. Okay, so everybody that knows that joke will know it. So when Dad died, he and I were sitting on the porch, and we sat on the front porch. And he looked at me and he said, "Son, I don't care what you guys do. Take care of my wife. Take care of your mother. Never let your mother want for anything, period." Okay? So he asked me, he said, "Son, I want you to be the executor of the family estate." And I looked at him and I said, "Dad, I can't do that." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because you got to talk to William and Kevin first." I said, "I will only do it if William and Kevin say it's okay." I said, "Because they're the oldest. and they have first right. And Dad called each one of them, and they said, those Cephas. And so the family joke became that I had now assumed the role of Dad. Because when they needed something or somebody had to ask a question, the first thing William would say, ask your daddy. Okay? And Mama was like, I'm still Mama, and I'm still running this house. And William was like, yeah, I know, but you still got to ask your daddy. And so as I stand here today, I must say I'm going to tell two stories, and then I'm going to get off the stage after I read a poem that a friend from Mississippi Valley State wrote in honor of the family. So I am the man I am professionally today because of that lady. You see, I was a hard-headed young man back in the day, and I learned what not to do from William. Okay? Because Kevin was always the quiet one. He was the smartest one, and he would sit back and never say a word until William and I got to fighting. And then he would always step in. So William and Kevin, so let's start with William. William graduated from high school, went to Northwest, decided school wasn't for him, came home and told Dad, and Dad said, well, you got to go to work. And he went to work in Houston at the factory. That factory work got a little tough for him, so Dad said, well, son, you got 3 choices, and you've already used 2. So the first one was you can go to college, okay? The second one was you can stay at home, you can work for 6 months, and then you got to go, but you can't stay here. And the third one was to join the Army. So William decided he's going to join the Army. Okay, so William's gone. So Kevin, the brainiac of the family, him and his buddies blew up the 8th grade science lab at school, made a 26 on the ACT, had scholarships from everywhere. He walks in and decides he's going to join the Air Force. So Kevin joins the Air Force. So Mom and Dad and I took a trip down to Keesler when he was at Keesler. And I saw how he was living, so I'm like, well, shoot. If they can join the military, so can I. So I was a senior in high school, April 1983. And you want to talk about a guilt trip with someone talking to you but not looking at you? I'm finna share one with you. So I come home from school. I had talked to the recruiter, and I said, look, I said, you come to the house this evening. I'll sign the papers. I'm going to join the Air Force. Just like that. So I get home, and Mom's in the kitchen, and we were talking, and I said, Mom, the recruiter's on his way. I think I'm going to go ahead and join the Air Force. He turns around in the kitchen and starts to cooking. Those pots were clinging all over the place. And she's talking, she's talking, but she's not talking to me because her back's to me. And she made this statement. She said, I always thought one of my sons would graduate from college. And she just kept on talking. She never turned and looked at me. And so me, I'm sitting there, I'm looking around. Like, well, William gone. Kevin gone. She got to be talking to me. So the good news was I had 3 scholarships sitting on the table at the same time that she was having this conversation, and she knew it. I had a partial to Ole Miss, and I had a partial to Jackson State. And Mississippi Valley gave me a full. So I looked, and I said, Mom, turn around. So she turned around. I said, I tell you what. If you want one of your sons to graduate from college, I'll go. I said, if that's what you want, that's your will, I'll go. Because of her and the decision, the conversation that we had that day, that changed the whole trajectory of my life and my professional life. And because of that, I want to personally thank, and I may have my bosses and coworkers watching, them for allowing me to be here with Mom and work from here. I've been working, doing work that I should have been in D.C. doing right here with Mom for about the last 35, 40 days. Been right here. So because of her, God allowed me to have a profession that allowed me to be here. Okay? And you want to talk about faith? Let's talk about faith for a minute. That lady right there believed. So I'm going to give you the last story. The last story is this. 5 years ago, Anita was in the hospital room with her. And Dr. Lamb in Oxford turned to my mom and said, Miss Thelma, your kidneys are failing. Your kidneys are working at about 13%. So now I'm on the phone. Anita's in the room. I'm on the phone. And I said, well, Doc, can I ask a question? He said, sure. I said, so what does that really mean? So in a nutshell, what he said was when you're born, if you want to use this analogy, you have 100 sheep in the field. And he said, every 2 years of your life, 2 of those sheep gonna die. Okay? He said, now in your mom's case, a little more have died based on some other things than what would normal be for her age. He said, now, Miss Thelma, you got 2 choices. He said, I can send you to Greenwood for surgery, and they can put a port in, and when it ever gets time for you to do dialysis, you can do it. Or if you don't do it, and you get to the point where you got to do dialysis, then we would have to incubate you, if that's the decision you want, go down your throat and do dialysis that way. Anita said, my mama looked at him, and she said, I'm not living off no machine. When it's my time to go, y'all let me go. Fast forward. The Wednesday before Christmas, Miss Rose and I were sitting in the living room, and the nurse came in. Okay, Mama's a nurse, right? So she been counting her medicine. So the fluid, that Monday, the fluid started to build up. And I told Gary, and I said, London, I said, the fluid started to build up. I said, you know, we need to keep our eye on her. So when the aide came in Wednesday morning, I said, when you clean her up, can you really just check her and tell me what's actually going on and how bad the fluid is? So when she got through, she walked out to me. She said, Mr. Cephas, the fluid has really built up. It's all over her body now. It's up in the chest area. I said, okay. So the nurse comes in. I have a conversation with the nurse, and Mom is watching me talk to the nurse. And at the same time, her hands now have started to swell. So she's sitting there, and Miss Rose, you remember this just as vividly as we're sitting here right now. Mama looked at that nurse, and she said, something ain't right. And she said, I'm not taking all the medicine that I used to take. Remember that, Miss Rose? And I said, Mama, we'll talk about that when the nurse, she said, no. She said, something ain't right, and I'm not taking all the medicine I used to take. And the nurse was steady on the computer. I said, Mama, I got it. We'll talk when they leave. So the nurse left. Talked to the nurse. Miss Rose left. I told Miss Rose, I said, okay, Miss Rose, I'm going to have a conversation with her. She said, okay. So I walk in, pull up a chair, sit down. She looked at me. I said, Mama, I said, you know, she was telling people that the reason the swelling was coming because of the snake bite. I said, Mom, it's not the snake bite. I said, your kidneys are failing. He looked at me. I said, you remember the conversation you had with Dr. Lamb 5 years ago? She said, yeah. I said, you told him that you didn't want to live off no machine. She said, yeah. I said, well, okay, Mama, your kidneys are failing. So she paused. She looked up at the ceiling. So she said, you mean to tell me I need dialysis now? I said, yes, ma'am, you do. He said, is it too late? I said, well, Mama, that depends. I said, you said you didn't want to live off a machine, but you remember the other option that Dr. Lamb gave you is that he would have to incubate you and go down your throat. She looked at me, she said, no, that ain't happening. So Mama immediately went into processing mode. Her whole facial expression changed. She started really looking up at the ceiling. And I looked at her and I said, Mom, are you okay? She looked back at me. She said, wait a minute, son, I'm still processing what we just talked about. I said, okay. So, being patient, I'm not patient. So I asked her again, hey, Mom, you okay? She said, son, I told you I was processing what we just talked about. She said, now I'm gonna get to you. Said, okay. So I just sit back. She raised up in that chair and she looked at me and she said, thank you. Looking around the room, thank me for what? Thank you for reminding me of what we had talked about. Thank you for telling me what's going on with my body. He said, son, I have lived 80 plus good years. And I interrupted her. I said, no, Mama, 87. She said, no, 80 plus. I said, okay, it's going to be whatever you want. It's whatever you want. She says, it's okay. If it's my time to go, now I don't hear a lot of people say this, but if it's my time to go, I'm ready. All of the confusion, all of the doubt that was on her face went away. So I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, I said, from this point forward, we ain't talking about that no more. So we're going to laugh, joke. We're going to have fun. You can fire me or fire Gary. She said, no, you hired, Gary fired. I said, okay, you can tell him that when he comes. So Gary came. So the next morning, Mom couldn't get up out of bed the way she normally could. And Gary came in, Linda came in, we cleaned her up. We decided to take her out and put her in a chair. So I've been cooking, I'm not a real cook, but I've been cooking 3 meals a day for about the last 30 days while I was here. And she ate breakfast that morning. And she tried to get up out of the chair. She said, boy, that was good. I'm going to get up out of this chair. And so me, instead of trying to tell her no, I said, okay, I'm gonna let you do you. So for an hour and a half, she tried to get out of the chair. She did everything. She moved the cover. She did this. Then she said, where Gary at? She said, call Gary and tell Gary to come down here. So Gary came in. All she wanted to do was see him. And she looked at us both and she said, you know what? The mind is a bad thing. She said, because my mind telling me I can get up out of this chair, but my body telling me I can't. She said, but you know what? I'm okay. Don't y'all worry about me. I'm okay. So I say that to say this. My mom knew where she was going. Anita will tell you that when my mom first got sick and then she was at the hospital in Oxford while I was traveling, flying here, my mom told her, I just talked to niece. And Bonita and Frank Jr. was over there. So as Kevin say, we knew then. And so I say that to say this. To my family, all of you, thank you for your support. To my nieces and nephews and my daughters, you guys were the love of your grandmother's life. That Sunday, when she got out of the hospital, the first thing she told me was, I want to FaceTime and I want to talk and see every one of my grandchildren. And she got a chance to do that. To Sonia, Alta, Ramona, She loved y'all. She loved y'all for the daughters that she never had. And as I end, to my brothers, thank you guys for trusting in me to do for us what we promised our dad that we were going to do. And today, Mama, you're with Dad now. He knows we did that. So I'm going to leave with this poem. And this poem is to the Franklin family from Miss Diana Lynn Bird, Mississippi Valley State alumni. And it's called On the Other Side. When we were born to this world, surely we must die. And to my family, friends, and loved ones, it's all right to cry. God has blessed me with the finest family and friends in this great land. And now I'm going home with my God to hold his hand. I'm glad I had a chance to live my life where there was so much love. And now I'm going home to live with my God in heaven above. To all my family and friends and loved ones, take it one day at a time. And always keep the joyous memories of me in your mind. And one day we will meet again on the other side. But for now, my family and friends, I must close my eyes. I'm in a peaceful, resting place. Everyone will someday see. For we know this is God's will. Someday for you, but now for me. The memories we've shared will always be near to your heart. And there they will stay and never depart. But for now, my family and friends, I must close my eyes. And one day, we'll meet again on the other side. January 15th, 2022, written by Diana Lynn Bird, MVSU alumni, author of Love is Straight from the Heart, a book of poetry. Thank you, Lynn.